Excellent. Good afternoon to everybody who is attending. I'm just going to check my volume levels. Okay, good. The microphone level is automatically adjusting. I love this technology. Anyway, welcome to the Eclipse committer orientation. Today, I've decided to forego the formal presentation and instead go and use the, sorry, I'm going to share my screen and show off the PMI a little bit, the project management interface. This is the main interface that project members can use to capture information about their project. We at the foundation use the information captured here to disseminate information about your project, and the community will use this website to find out information about your project and how it relates to other projects, and this sort of just generally how the project interacts with the community and of course with the Eclipse Foundation. So I've looked, I got here the Eclipse Git Team Provider website. If you look at the URL, projects.eclipse.org/projects/technology.egit. There are similar websites, of course, for the LocationTech projects and for the PolarSys projects. The first part of the URL is different, of course. /projects is the first part of the resource name, and then / the project name will get you to the overview page for the project. The overview page provides the description of the project. This particular project participates in a number of different simultaneous releases, and this particular piece of the page is automatically generated based on your project's stated participation in those simultaneous releases, list of licenses, and then we have this table that contains all of the different releases that the project has engaged in. Projects at Eclipse, at LocationTech, at PolarSys are all required to engage in formal release reviews for all of their major and minor releases. Service releases are not, a review is not required. So you will see, for example, over here on the right side, these little eyeballs. These are the links to the review, the corresponding review for each of these releases. And you'll notice that some of these service releases don't have corresponding review links because, of course, for service releases, they're not required. So eGit's a great example of a project that moved very quickly. There's certainly more releases than what's seen here. We can go and look at the governance page to get the full list. But they engaged in a lot of releases very frequently over time, but you can tell as time has gone on, the amount of time between the releases has grown. And this is sort of a natural thing that happens with projects. Also on this page are a list of companies that are actively involved in the project. If a company has an employee who is a committer on this project that has committed at least one time in the last 3 months, the company will appear in this list. Over on the right side, we have the project logo. We have a bunch of project links, and these are handy links that are provided by the project team, and I'll describe where that happens later, but projects will provide a website. If a project has, for example, an external website, they'll provide a link here and you can go and get their entirely custom built website there. This is, again, it's up to the project team to decide what this looks like. This entire page, the PMI page, is completely generated automatically based on the data that's provided. Again, documentation, wiki, these are just links provided by the project. Getting started, the same sort of thing. A project can actually specify other random links here as well, and that's a handy way of providing more information to the viewers, people that arrive at your website. It's worth noting, project teams are not required to have their own project website. Many project teams opt to have their project website just point to the PMI page. I think M2E is an example that does that. If you believe that there is value for your project and your community to have an extra website, that's certainly supported. but absolutely not required if you don't feel that you have the resources to dedicate to maintaining that. List of related project follows. The project hierarchy is automatically generated. In this case, the eGit project, the Eclipse Git team provider, is a sub-project of the technology top-level project, but a project team can explicitly state what projects they are related to, and this is relayed here. So in this case, the eGit project is related to the Java implementation of Git, the JGit project. Projects can also specify arbitrary tags. Actually, I'm not seeing that here, pardon me. But there's a number of technology types that a project associates with. So we could say, hey, let's take a look at if a project associates with OSGI, they automatically wind up on this OSGI page. And you'll see, if I find Git, I must be on a different page. This is actually paged, so there's multiple pages here. But what I have here is the logo for the project, if it exists, and the description as provided in the project metadata. So this is one way that we can group together projects that are related and relay that information, show that information to the community, and have the community help the community find related projects through the technology type. And of course, there are all sorts of different types of technology types, tools. If I do the same kind of tools page, I'm actually not really liking the CSS here. I'm going to talk to the web team about making the CSS a little tighter. But again, tools, projects that provide tools here would be listed. And so it looks like Trace Compass's description here may be a little bit wordier than it needs to be. So this is an example of something where I might go in and tighten this up for them, or help the project tighten this up a bit. Certainly at this point, the description, and I'll talk about this a bit more in a minute, the description probably doesn't need an image. So anyway, this multiple pages of tools, lots of different types of tools in the Eclipse projects. So as a committer on the project, you would actually have a little bit more information, more access. Right now I'm not logged in, but if I go to the top of the page, I have an option to log in. I can click, and we wait for a little while we go through the login process. Now, basically, the system already knows, so it's sort of a weird, maybe not weird. The way that sign-on works with the Eclipse Foundation properties is, if you're logged into one, you only have to log in the once. Every time you touch another property, the login automatically happens on that other property. By logging in, you'll notice actually I get a special toolbar that everybody else doesn't get, so ignore that. But this new committer tools block has appeared, and if I expand that, I have a bunch of tools that are useful for committers. So you can validate, for example, that a contributor has a CLA here. You can do some intellectual property things like create a new contribution questionnaire, generate your IP log, review your project downloads, and I may take a look at some of these in a few minutes. So different sort of communication things, convenient things. These pointers to the mailing list, and just click here to send a message to your PMC, or send a message to your project's dev list. Now this will only work if you've actually specified the dev list in the metadata, and I'll talk about that again in a minute. If you would like to nominate a new project lead for your project, there's a handy link right here to do that. This will start up the project lead election. We're in the process of migrating the committer election to this page as well. Right now that is in the portal. And it occurs to me now that maybe a link to the portal might be handy here, even though we're trying very desperately to deprecate that. I think that the portal, though, is probably still worth discussing, and I will make a point of discussing that in a future presentation. If it's time to do a new release, the project team member can click here to create a new release record. I won't do that on behalf of the eGit project though. I may do this on behalf of the Dash project a little bit later. Something I neglected to mention actually before is there's a number of different pages here that are accessible. Most of these are all mostly accessible to everybody. Downloads, who's involved, developer resources, governance, and contact us. But now that I've logged in, I've got this edit button, which would be available to all committers. These two are, again, also, theirs are special for me. These are kind of implementation details. Actually, revisions would be for everybody. Devel is special, so again, ignore that. But anyway, if I take a quick flip through some of these pages, excuse me, the downloads page will give a list of the project team has the ability to provide a lot of download information here. And did I miss? No, okay, apparently it's just slow today. Oh my goodness. Apparently we have some optimization to do. The Git team provider downloads page. So here in this case, the project team has provided a link to a main download page, and if I click that, I'll click that in a minute. They've included a marketplace entry, so you can go to the marketplace. One of the features we have on our list is to, instead of putting a link to the marketplace entry, or in addition to putting the install buttons that you can just drag and drop onto your Eclipse installation and automatically install the feature from the marketplace. They've also enlisted a couple of update sites. Who's involved is a list of all of the people who are involved in the project. And there's a couple of charts here. These charts are generated based on data that's based on just the commit data that's in the Git repos. We actually have a process that harvests information out of the Git repos and puts it into a database, which makes it easy. We have this massive index of all of our Git commits. So these are all the people who've committed in the last 3 months something to the repository. These are the organizations that are represented here, and you can flip through each of them. And if you hover over top, you can say, "Hey, these are the commits committed by this individual company." This is multiple page, by the way, so you can look at multiple pages of committers. We put the most active committers near the top, of course. This list of companies is the same list that you would see seen on the previous page. These again, to be here, a company has one committer, or at least one committer that has had at least one commit in the last 3 months will appear. Their company logo will appear here. You also have to have your company logo registered in our system, and that's something that company members we can help with that. So we list different types of people involved in the project leads, the various committers. They also have this notion of historical committers. If you've ever been a committer on the project, you would be listed here. There's also a category for emeritus committers. If a project has code that's been moved from one project to another, some historical committers may appear here along with that code. But anyway, so different categories. A top-level project would have a PMC listed here. They have PMC lead. They would have representatives on the various councils. So this who page is kind of the who's who of the project. Not listed in any particular order other than alphabetical. So although maybe we should randomize that, that might be an interesting addition. If I look at the next page, developer resources, again, all of this information is provided by the project team. So project team basically needs to specify where the repos are, and we will provide a listing of them. And there's handy links to get at all of the different repositories, handy links to get the information needed to clone a repository. If they're connected to Garrett Review, we automatically, so really a project team just needs to say, here's where a repository is, and we look for the repository on our server. So I'll talk about this when I show the edit screen. But we automatically detect that a project is in Garrett and provide a link to the Garrett code review. And we have a link to the cgit browser service here as well. If the project team has specified builds, we list their different builds, and of course we have an ability to check and see the build status of each of those builds, so we have an up-to-date here, and of course there's a link. Build technology, this is another kind of categorization, a lot like the tags. All the projects that say that they use Hudson, for example, are here. So we have a listing, a grouping of different projects that use the different kinds of technology. Governance is Eclipse development processy kind of things. So what is the scope of the project, and what are all of the releases the project has done, all of the reviews the project has engaged in from the beginning of time. This is mostly automatically generated, although the scope is something that project teams specify. Actually, the scope comes from the proposal. It's actually okay to tweak the scope here and there, but you can't really change the meaning. According to the Eclipse development process, if you change the meaning of the scope, we need to engage in a restructuring review. Contact us is generated again from the metadata, links to the different mailing lists and forums that the project team uses. I noticed this actually the other day. A recent update has changed our CSS, and I find this is a little too bunchy. So the web guys are already looking at making this presentation a lot nicer. This takes us, of course, to the edit page. The edit page, if you again ignore the mess at the top, this is something, some administrative stuff that I have access to. We group the different kinds of information into multiple sections because, frankly, there's just a lot of information here. Basics, and you're actually going to see a few things that only I have access to, but that's okay. Project ID, you can't change this. In fact, I don't think you even get to see this. And state, these are things that Eclipse Foundation staff have control over. Parent project, again, I don't. The average committer wouldn't be able to change this sort of information, but a project committer or project lead can change the logo. If you click remove, this will change, and one of the options will be instead to upload a new logo. The description is here. Now, this description is very concise. I really quite like short descriptions. In fact, I talked quite a lot about elevator pitch descriptions. A successful project, one of the things that makes a project successful is people getting involved, and one of the ways to get people involved is to make it so that that it's easy to understand what it is your project actually does. So having a very concise description is a great way of doing that. Now, the Drupal system that we have this based on is actually quite handy. You may want to have a description that's far more wordy. You can provide a summary of that description. So if you open up this, edit the summary, you can provide a different summary that's shorter than your description. Now, again, I think this one's perfect. I would actually move this into the summary if we decided to make more information here. So you can do that sort of thing. The other thing too is if you have a lot more information in your description, you can put a divider bar. And okay, I'm not seeing that. Apparently I'm lying. There's a divider bar here. Oh, built-in HTML. In full HTML mode. So the committers should be able to enter information in full HTML mode. So you can change the way that this content is rendered. Again, this is a Drupal thing. You can put a divider in. And this divider says everything above the line is the summary. But when you're printing the whole thing, print the whole content. When all you need is a summary on, say, these pages here, this is just the summary, only that first part will be entered. I need to remember not to hit save. So scope is listed here. Again, you have the ability to change how you represent things. And of course, I have more options than you do. Committers should have full and filtered HTML options. Filtered HTML strips out certain tags. we actually use that in some places to restrict what unauthorized users can do, because you can do some scripty, dangerous things with full HTML if you have malicious intent. We tend to trust committers to not have malicious intent. Again, licenses is something that most people don't have access to, but you get a little bit of insight into what I can see. The licenses the project makes use of. For categorization, project can say what technology types they produce. So in this case, it's an OSGI technology, it's a tool. Working group, again, this is something I have access to. I can assign a project to a particular working group, and this is really kind of up to the working group to decide how to do that, which is why we don't make it generally available. Technology type that your project produces is self-selecting. You get to decide what your project produces. The related projects, you can type a project name in here where you say, hey, this project is related to the eGarrett, let's say, for example. And it gives me a list. This mid silliness here is, again, it's a Drupal-y thing. Drupal represents each of these projects as what Drupal calls a node. And this is the ID of the node, and this is how the site maps eGarrett to an actual thing. Yeah, I'm not going to do that on behalf of the project. It's really up to them to do that. Tags allows you to do free tagging. So we can throw in free tags and again, we got to remember not to save. For Bugzilla, contribution message. If you want to put a contribution message at the top of your developer resources page, you can put this here, just arbitrary text. If you whatever you feel you want to have at the top of your again, it's your developer resources page. For Bugzilla, product and component, most projects aren't going to put a component. Whatever their Bugzilla product is. And then source repositories. So in this case, the source repositories should be specified. There's actually a lot of forgiveness built into this because project is not entirely clear to everybody what to do here. But this is the name of the directory as it sits on our server. So all of our project teams, if you were to shell to build.eclipse.org and go to /gitroot / your project name, or maybe /technology / your project name, or /modeling / your project name, however your project Git repos are nested. Actually, now that I said that out loud, all of the projects should have a flat structure through Git. So you can specify individual repositories, or you can use wildcards. So what we've said here is that all Git repositories that are under the eGit directory, gitroot / eGit directory, will be listed, and we just automatically detect them and display them. Figure out if they're in Garrett, that kind of stuff, and display them for you. If you have repositories on GitHub, and I mean official Eclipse repositories, Eclipse project repositories, so not personal ones, things that are in the Eclipse organization, or if you're a LocationTech project under the LocationTech organization, you can specify them here. You'll notice that I have this extra directory, or this extra entry here, that you won't see for GitHub. We only list the repositories that you want us to list. So just because they exist doesn't mean we necessarily display them. I wrestle with this one, actually. I think maybe we should just be displaying everything that the project, every repo the project has. Some projects have repos labeled old, or they just sort of left sort of old junk in their directory that they don't generally want people to look at. So they're easy they can be found and discovered through CGIT, but they just don't want to encourage people to look at it. So it's really up to you to decide what you want to do. For what it's worth, if you want to encourage a particular ordering of repositories, you can use the wildcard and then put a specific directory. So if I put a specific, I think that's one of them. If I did that and change the order, change the order. This one will always be at the top. The wildcard will match this one too. This one will only appear once, but this encourages it to the sorting order to be to place this first. So you can tinker with the sorting order this way. If you felt that one of the repos really needs to be at the top, you can encourage that sort of behavior. Team project sets. If you have team project sets that make it easier to load your source code, you can specify them here. Under the build category, again, a description. What do you want to have at the top of your build page? What build technologies do you use? Where is your build documentation? Links to all of your, these generally be Hudson, but that you can actually put arbitrary links in here too if you had information, other links that are related to your build. If they are Hudson links, then we automatically do some magic to get you the status, to display the status of the Hudson build. For downloads, we have this notion of the big button download. You can put whatever you want here. If you put a web page, clicking that orange button that gets generated will automatically start downloading the thing, the file that you specified. If you specify a URL, the directory, the web browser will just go to that directory and you can list whatever downloads you want there. You can put a message at the top of your downloads page. Again, you have the option to do this full HTML thing. Change it to, or filtered if you want to. Chances are everybody just wants full. Marketplace entries, update sites, which we've seen. I think most of these are self-explanatory. You have a title, you have a URL to your update site, so people looking for your update sites can find them. If you want to have individual specific downloads listed, so maybe you have an all-in-one, or you have a zip file or something that you want to just have automatically put. You don't want to bother making a separate download page. You just want to use this as your project's download page. You can put links to very specific download things here. Under links and documentation, links to the website, links to the wiki. Again, there's a text field, a documentation page. I'm using, actually, I have some updates to do. The document, so actually we don't have a documentation page anymore, so apparently we had to do some updates here. So links to different kinds of things, very specific things. If you want, you can also specify other links, and again, those other links will appear in that list on the right side of the screen. Communication, name of the mailing list, and this actually has some content assist built into it, so you can just start typing and it will match. And all you need to do is provide the name. We know which mailing lists we have, and again, Content Assist will help you get there. We don't support a notion of external links at this point to other contact information, although that's something we may consider in the future. We do expect that all project communication be done using Eclipse Foundation provided resources. That's certainly communication between committers. Communication with the community, you really do kind of need to go where the community expects you to be. So again, you can have multiple mailing lists. So here the eGet project is specified eGet-build. You can specify a new name. If you want to remove one, just remove the name, and when you hit save, it'll be taken off of the list. These things here are indicators that you can drag and drop them in different orders. So you can specify the order in which they are displayed on the screen. There's a list of forums. Here we actually aren't as clever as we should be, but you can specify the URL to your forum. Of course, all of these lists where you have multiple options, we have this option to add another item. Anyway, so you can make all of these changes, and then way down at the bottom you have this save button, which I'm not going to click because I've made some changes that I'm sure the eGet project doesn't want us to do. Something that's worth actually thinking about a little bit too is if you want to, we've stopped short. We actually thought about making this happen automatically, but you can make changes and then create a new revision. So the Drupal system that we use is a content management system, and it does have a means of remembering different revisions of the project information. So if you open this section here and say create a new revision, you can make changes that you could undo more easily later. Like I said, we've talked about it. We've thought about making this happen automatically. Every time you hit save, automatically make a revision. We haven't done that yet, and we may yet do that. I think we have a bug open for that, if anyone's interested. Sorry, the question here that I missed, thanks Jens. Does this mean that a project can have multiple repositories? Absolutely yes. In fact, if you looked at the eGit project, I'm just going to not save, I'll flip over to their developer resources. eGit has three. Really, it's up to you to decide. Right-sizing Git repos is a bit of a dark art. The Xtext project has one big repository. In fact, a few years ago, they asked us to merge a whole bunch of repositories because they found using multiple repositories untenable. We have one project that I'm not even going to say the number because it's just entirely too large, and I'm not even going to mention the project name. One of our projects in particular has a very large number of very fine-grained repositories, and I think that's a huge mistake. However, it's really the project team's call. Where you have project repositories on GitHub, we have a bit more of a say at the Eclipse Foundation because every repository you create has an impact on the webmaster team. So after about 5 or 10, we're going to start complaining and grumbling. So anyway, entirely possible for a project to have multiple Git repositories. I certainly encourage different functional areas, like obvious functional areas, maybe a separate repository. Certainly if you're building functionality that may one day be moved to another project, putting that into a separate repo may be handy. I know we did that with some of the stuff in Oomph. I know that many of the incubators do that. The E4 incubator makes multiple repositories, which makes it easier to move functionality later. So anyway, long-winded answer to a fairly simple question. So anyway, TLDR is yes, you can have multiple repositories. So really, that's kind of the that's the metadata for Eclipse for the PMI. Again, I encourage project teams to maintain this and keep this up to date. As we move forward, we're taking some steps to improve the bandwidth that we have available for doing reviews. And as part of this, we're hoping to make reviewing the metadata and project websites be a big part of reviews moving forward. So anyway, those are things to keep in mind, and so we will be providing some assistance and to project teams to make sure that this information is kept up to date. The last thing I think I'll look at is we have some releases here, and I'll just pick 4.2. The release records have multiple pages and lots of information as well, and you'll notice the eGit project does a pretty good job of specifying a lot of information, enough information to make you understand what's in that release. I tend to use them as an example for that reason. We automatically generate an issues tab. So if you, let me just pick one of these bugs. So here, this is the Eclipse Team Provider 4.2. This bug has a target milestone of 4.2, so we automatically make that connection. This page here, this issues page, is completely automatically generated based entirely on the version number matching. The matching, we try to be as clever as possible. So 4.2 will actually match milestone names too. Let me see, do we have any milestones? They didn't do milestones. So if your project team decides that you have a 4.2 M1 target milestone in Bugzilla and a M2 target milestone in Bugzilla, anything that's 4.2-ish will match. 4.2 release name would not match things with a 4.2.1 milestone. Again, we try to be pretty clever with that, and I think we've done a pretty good job of that. The release plan, projects can have plan information. In this case, they haven't provided too much plan information, which is a little disappointing, but they did have a good description. A good description and a list of bugs is a reasonable substitute for a formal plan. As part of the review information, this is just the description again. Again, the project team opted not to provide too much review information, and the PMC decided that this was sufficient, so that was enough for us. But if we look at the edit tab, again, this is just a record, and in here we have basics, which is the release date, information about the release, type of the release, project plan. So we've made most of these optional just because reduce the burden on the project teams. Again, some PMCs do want this kind of information. So again, if you're not sure, check with your PMC. Deliverables, compatibility, list of milestones. This is kind of a handy thing if you're working on a fairly long release cycle. Letting your community know when your milestones are going to be is a good idea. Other information about internationalization. What are the target environments? Themes are kind of groupings of bugs. What are the themes? So very often a theme is for a release could be UI fixes or bug fixes or something, or some new subsystem. These could be the themes and may have some bugs associated with them. This is actually a holdover from the old system that we used that was all XML based, and some of these were a little bit difficult to specify, but you can just paste a Bugzilla search URL in here and this will automatically generate a theme information with information with specific bugs listed. Again, I think the issues tab takes over for this. If you identify bugs, if you assign bugs to particular target milestones, we kind of automatically do this for you. And I guess even categorization of the bugs. If you have good components, right? If you have a UI component in Bugzilla, we do that kind of categorization as well. So again, themes is kind of an old-fashioned notion, but some projects are still using it, which is cool if that's what they want to do. We look for again, a lot of this is optional. New and noteworthy URL. Frankly, if a project is going to do a lot of work for documentation for a release, I really would love to see more focus put onto a new and noteworthy. So again, consumers, adopters can have a fighting chance of understanding what's cool and new and interesting in the project. Security issues, architectural issues, non-coding issues, usability. Again, some PMCs want to see this information and they may ask for it when it comes time to review your documentation, but it's really up to you to decide. And again, it's just the same kind of interface. You probably don't have nearly as many of these options as I do. Anyway, so that is the basic tour of the PMI. And again, we looked at project individual web pages. Projects can opt to point to their PMI page. I think if I go into pretty sure, no, hey, they've got their own page now. Anyway, this project teams can opt to just point to the PMI page if they choose. We have all these different categorizations are means for us to provide information to the community and showcase your project. I look to the description that project teams provide when it comes time to send out an email to the community to talk about your project. If I'm blogging or if I'm talking about you at a conference, I use that information as my starting point. Again, different kinds of categorizations, types of tools used. Some interesting differences here in the CSS that I need to investigate. Anyway, so that's the PMI. That's really all I had planned for today. That's most of our time, so I'm going to wrap it up here. If you do have any questions, certainly for new projects, look at the incubation mailing list. I can't even remember the URL. The incubation mailing list, new project team members should automatically be on that. Let's see. There we go. So the incubation mailing list is a great place to ask questions about incubation, about the PMI, about the IP process. The entire Eclipse Architecture Council pays attention to this list and answers questions. People who've been there and done that are paying attention to this list and can answer your questions. So that's a great place to start. If that's not working for you, if there's obvious bugs or things. Bug reports are always good. Uh, last last ditch, if there's no other option available and you're desperate, send an email to me, emo@eclipse.org, and I will help you out. Anyway, thank you for your attention. Have a great rest of your day.